Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again for our time together. It's a beautiful Monday morning. God's going to bless all the work of your hands this week. Now, some of you are saying, Pastor, where were you and Sister Bev and Shah? Well, add to that Attorney Beltran and Teacher Beth. We're all down in a little town called Rockhampton, Australia right now. Sunday was the 40th anniversary of Pastor Claude Fingleton and his wife pastoring the Cathedral of Praise in Rockhampton, Australia. It's a little town, about a 2-hour flight outside of Brisbane. Now, this is the church that we originally got our name from back in the 1980s from Uncle Lester. When we rebuilt the building, we named the building Cathedral of Praise, and he got the idea for this name after preaching for Pastor Claude. So we're kind of cousins, and Pastor Claude has become a good friend over the years, and man, I'm very proud to call a friend. But this was his 40th anniversary of pastoring the same church. My grandfather always taught me, any man can keep a church happy for one night, but it takes a good pastor to keep a church happy for a lifetime. He has brought that church through growth and blessing, built a great school. That's what Attorney Beltran and Sister Teacher Beth are studying right now, built an incredible school there in the city. In fact, a school that's recognized all across Australia among Christian schools. So it's a time for us to learn, a time to study, and a time for us to be a blessing. Right now, I want us to come back to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 6. And I want to talk to you about just normal Christian life for a minute. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. The commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, and when you walk along the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Now, I want you just to notice that this is how Christians are to live their lives. This is how God's people are to live their lives. First of all, the commandments of God are to be upon our hearts. We get this idea sometimes that the Old Testament was all legalism. Well, you know, people can make legalism out of anything, but it was always to be coming from the heart. God said, put these commandments in your heart so that obedience would always flow from your heart. This is why it's so important as a Christian that you read the Bible for yourself every day. You don't just do you don't just do things because the preacher told you to do it, but you've got the commandments written on your heart. So out of the abundance of your heart, you're living your mouth as well as your mouth is speaking. Then he continues, he said, impress them on your children. How do you do that? Well, talk about them when you sit at home. Talk about them when you walk along the road. Talk about them when you lie down. Talk about them when you get up. Every day in life, we should be talking to our children about the Word of God. Now, parents, this is everyday life. When you come into the home of a person who claims to be a Christian, a person who claims to be following God, this is what should be coming out of our heart. Out of the abundance of our heart, our mouth is speaking. We're not just living the Word because it's in our heart. We're speaking it in our everyday life. We've filled our heart with the Word. We've tied these things down deep in our heart. And so with our children every day, as we're walking down the street, we're talking to them about what does the Word of God say? As we lay down at night, we're talking to them about what does the Word of God say? When we get up in the morning, we're talking to them about what the Word of God says. When we sit at our dinner table, we don't talk about the latest artista or the latest political scandal. We talk about what does the Word say? Now, the bottom line is this. Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What fills our hearts? If we have filled our heart with the Word of God, and I think this 90-day Bible reading challenge has really changed some of your lives because you find yourself talking the Bible a lot more. Why? Because you're filling it in your heart. You're not trying to sound like a Christian. You're not trying to sound religious, but you've so filled your heart with the Word, it just comes out of you. Let's not stop what we're doing. Let's keep putting the Word in our hearts.